What's going on, everybody? Andrew Thompson here of the Andrew Thompson Interviews YouTube channel. My guest today is a former freelance and Evolve Tag Team champion. He's been in the business for more than a decade. This is the man himself, Anthony Henry. Anthony, what's going on, Chief?
Hey, man. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
No problem, man. I appreciate you taking the time to do this. And I know you recently wrestled Suge D at Action Wrestling's Friday Night Fight show. Just coming off of the match, how do you feel like everything went? What was it like being in the ring with Suge?
I mean, me and Suge actually came up together to some degree. It's like we were both from Augusta, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
We both started training at the same small wrestling school. It's kind of like a culmination, of like a whole backstory we had. And I came out of it with a win, and I felt like I performed well. So I mean, all was good, man. Felt good to me. I don't know about him. Felt good to me.
And you mentioned you guys being in Georgia down south. Like I'm curious, like what is the kind of the state of the independent wrestling scene down there? Like I know, like in other places just around the U.S., it was kind of like sort of up and down. Like everything was kind of progressing over the past few months, and then the COVID cases went up, so things kind of slowly started to slow back down a little bit. Like what's it been like for the independent scene down south from your viewpoint?
Yeah, so I mean, pretty much the same as everywhere, I think, in terms of not a lot of shows going on for obvious reasons. For sure, like the last couple of months, I would say that there's been a little bit more going on. So companies like Action Pro or Action Wrestling, I know Southern Honor does stuff in Atlanta. You got AWE in Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment. They just started doing shows again. So I mean, there's a decent amount going on now. Who knows how long that'll last? But yeah, I think the entire country, the entire world is just going through this, and wrestling is luckily surviving and kind of persevering through this whole thing, and we'll just see what happens. But as of right now, like there's a decent amount of shows going on, so it's good.
Right. And does it ever like is it crazy to you to know that like throughout this whole pandemic, wrestling was kind of like the one thing that kept going throughout the whole thing? Like it may not have been everybody, but it was kind of like the majority. Like it seemed like wrestling just never stopped throughout this whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's kind of the nature of it, man. Wrestling
Yeah.
always, it's like a cockroach, man, through the nuclear blast or whatever. Like wrestling always survives. Like there's always been the ups and downs throughout the years. It just comes and goes, ebb and flow. And I think this is no different. Wrestling will always be around, man. Like you just can't squash it.
Right. And Andy, I know you were one of the regulars in Evolve, man. And of course, I think it was early this year, a couple months back, WWE officially acquired Evolve. I spoke with Fred Yehi and Tracy Williams a couple months back, and I asked them the same question: what did they think about WWE acquiring Evolve? And they said it was kind of like a bittersweet thing, knowing they had seen the growth of the promotion, and then having it be sold to WWE. I'm curious as to what you think about it. Was it kind of that same reaction when you found out? It was kind of like that bittersweet type of feeling?
Yeah, for sure. Because it's kind of weird, like when you look at things like that happening, because like WWE is such a big entity all to itself. It's like the monster amongst humans or whatever you want to call it. But like, and Evolve being one of the puny humans, and you got the big monster of WWE. But like WWE acquiring Evolve, it's just like that's just telling of like. I think the amount of talent that was there on the roster, and the quality of the matches and the shows that we were putting on, and it's almost like it is bittersweet. It's kind of like also what's the word I'm looking for? It's almost like validation, I guess, because it's like we belong amongst the WWE talent in a way. So, and then having our stuff on the WWE network and all that stuff is really cool.
Yeah, and you mentioned that just the talent that you guys had on that roster. I really feel like that 2016 to like let's say the going forward several years, like I feel like that Evolve roster was like low key like one of the best talented rosters out there. Like when you just look at the people you guys had, like you guys had Chris Dickinson. I know Ethan Page was there, Darby Allin, ACH stopped through there a couple of times. Of course, I mentioned Fred Yehi, Tracy Williams. You guys had Gulak. Man, you guys had so many talented people on that roster. Is it kind of crazy to look back? And, you know, as you mentioned, WWE acquiring and Evolve, like, is it kind of crazy to look back and know how much talent that you guys had on that roster and to kind of see where everybody kind of filtered out to? You know, some people got signed, some people were just killing it on the independents. Like, I know that got to be like one of those, like, damn, we did have a really great roster type of feelings.
Yeah, I mean, I actually, like, I don't say this being cocky, but I knew it anyway.
Yeah.
Without the validation. The validation came, and that's great, but, like, we knew. Everybody knew, like, what we had going on. And there was nobody on that roster that I would really, like, pick out as a weak link. Like, everybody had their thing that they did. Everybody brought something to the table and was unique. And I think we had it all, especially near the end. We had a lot going on for us, and it's no surprise to me that everybody's kind of moved on and doing great things.
Mm. And, you know, I mentioned at the top of the interview that you're a former freelance tag team champion. Of course, that was with JD Drake. And I know you guys are team quite a bit. Like, I've like, from what I've heard, like from wrestlers that I've spoken to, like, I've heard nothing but like positive things about him. Like, of course, as a wrestler, I heard things about him as a trainer. But like, just from your experiences working with him, why do you think that people have like just this abundance of, I'm assuming, respect and, you know, just have these good things to say about JD Drake?
You know, the thing about JD is that he is great, and I think upon first appearance, everybody wants to doubt him because of, you know, his physique, and he's a bigger guy. But then when they see him in the ring, they're like, holy crap, you know, the things he can do. And not just that, but like his knowledge of wrestling, you know, like the deeper elements of wrestling, the things that really, really matter, you know, because a lot of people don't know these things.
Right.
Honestly, like they don't. That's what separates the good guys from the great guys. And he's one of the great ones. And besides that fact, besides the fact that he's so good, it's also his willingness to help. Now, when you first meet him, he can be a little off-putting because you don't know how to take it, because he will give you crap. He will give you crap, and he will give you crap. But if you ask for his help, or even if you don't ask for his help, he will willingly give it. And that's the great thing about him. He's so giving. He helps others, and I think people see that, and so people respect that.
Right.
And there's just a lot to respect when it comes to JD Drake.
And I was reading the interview that he did yesterday, because I know he was going to be in the Limitless Wrestling Vacational Cup. I think that's the right name for the tournament. But he was doing an interview, and he was just like at the end, you know, he was just like, I don't want anybody to take this as like any type of like cockiness or anything like that. But he was like, there ain't nobody that can do what I do in the way that I do it. Like, he was like, you know, there are people his size that can be super athletic, but he was like, as far as like the emotion and making people feel what he's presenting in the ring, he was like, I just don't think there's anybody out here that can do, you know, what I do. So, and it kind of just, you know, followed up to what you just said about him. And it's not like a cocky thing. It's just he's very aware of the skills that he brings to the table, and it's just like, you know, I'm not afraid to, you know, speak that out to the world.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he should. I don't think he should feel bad about saying these things, because, you know, when you're in the business, as long as he's been in it, like, you've earned that. You know what I mean? And he is good. And there's nothing wrong with knowing that you're good. Because actually, there's a difference between cockiness and just being confident. You know what I mean? It's okay to be confident. Like, everybody who's great is confident. LeBron James, you think he's sitting there like, you know, yeah, hey, I'm not as good as this guy. I'm just a normal guy. No, man. He knows how good he is, right? But like, there's nothing wrong with that. That's okay. You should have that, actually. Because if you don't, you doubt yourself.
Right.
And when you doubt yourself, you're just not going to perform the way you know you can perform. So, hell yeah.
Right. And I'm curious, man, like, as long as you've been in the business, I know you've been around since the early 2000s, but like, what, like, you've seen this shift, you've really seen this shift, like, in professional wrestling, like, as far as wrestlers starting to treat themselves like a business opposed to just being solely professional wrestlers. Do you think that's like probably one of the biggest changes that have occurred so far in the business? Like, just seeing wrestlers just start to sort of shift the priority to, okay, let's just focus solely in the ring, to, man, I'm trying to get these Twitch streams going. I'm trying to get this YouTube thing going. I'm trying to get on TV shows. Like, you know, even just mentioning real quick, like even Leo Rush, he got himself on MTV's The Challenge. That's like MTV's that's like one of their biggest shows. Like, you know, is it kind of cool to see that shift in professional wrestling to, you know, guys and girls starting to like really embrace the business side of it?
Absolutely, because I think it's something that was necessary for the evolution of wrestling, you know, and it has really, like, I guess, paved the way for guys and girls to make money doing this, and in a way that is different than in previous years, because like before it was kind of like, hey, get a contract and that's your way to make money. Right. That's it. That's all you got. But now you can almost like put value on yourself by doing these other things, right? So you almost like have your own brand, right? And that's great because you can go to independent wrestling shows, you can make money. You can make money by selling shirts, merchandise. You're adding value to your own self, and then by doing that, you're also adding value to your wrestling name in the process. So it's great, and it gives us a lot of, I guess, options. That's a good word to say it. We have so many options now that we didn't have years and years ago, and a lot of that is probably because of social media,
right?
Because of YouTube, because of all the things. And so there's good and bad to everything. That's everything in life. But I think professional wrestlers have done a really good job, especially in the last few years, of using social media as a vehicle, I guess, to go ahead and elevate themselves.
And, you know, even though kind of transitioning back to sort of some Evolve related, I guess, but even though Evolve is acquired by WWE, I know WWN is still going strong. I know you wrestled at Eddie Kingston's Grindhouse show. Like, and I was seeing like 1 or 2 matches from that, but like I'm curious, like, to hear from the wrestler's perspective, like what is that? What has that been like? I know you wrestled there once or twice, I believe. Like, because it just seems like just looking at the card, it's like very technical wrestling based, like mixed in with like power wrestling, like mixed in with like people who just punch you in the face. Like it's like very like it's like a mixed bag of professional wrestling. And like I'm just curious about your experience. So like, how did that opportunity come about?
Yeah, I think Grindhouse is pretty cool because it's really essentially it's just guys getting in there and fighting. It's very
simple.
It's not so much entertainment as it is just, hey, 2 guys going in there. You want to see violence, you want to see a fight, you want to see 2 guys going in there competing. That's what this is all about. My opportunity came because I'm pretty close to Eddie Kingston. Like, we got to know each other really well during our days involved. Really cool guy, one of the realest guys you'll ever meet. And he's legit running the thing. You know, he reached out to me. We made it happen. And, I've wrestled only there once. First time I had some situations come about that I had to cancel, but second time I went in and wrestled for Yay High, and it was a lot of fun. We went like 30 minutes. It was great.
Hey, you like, I think Eddie Kingston is kind of like of that same vein as far as people people have a really fond thing to say about him, much like JD Drake. Like, and I think that was just evident by when the announcement came that Eddie Kingston got signed to AEW. Like, it was just an outpour of like just support and respect. And the thing, like, I think it's different when you see that from a bunch of wrestlers opposed to seeing it from a bunch of fans. Cause like from our perspective, like we only know Eddie through, you know, from what we see on his shows and stuff like that. But you guys know him personally, you've been around him. So you will be able to gauge better if he's a good person or not. You know what I'm saying? So just to see that amount of respect and love for Eddie coming from you guys, the wrestlers, like I think that just says way more about an individual opposed to, you know, any of us probably saying, even though we may be, you know, fans of him and, you know, support him along the way, but I think it's kind of different when you guys who have been around him, you know, say those kind of things.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, Eddie's one of the realest people I've met in business, and I have nothing bad to say about him, maybe other than the fact that he turned me on to those black and white cookies. So those are absolutely delicious, and they are calorie dense. It's about like 300 calories for one cookie. They're delicious. So other than that, yeah, he's a really cool guy.
And
everything.
You know, kind of transitioning on wrestling a little bit. I had read that you're a father. Just tell me how how becoming a father has kind of elevated your game and made you push harder professionally and personally.
Yeah, so I mean, with wrestling, first off, my daughter hates it, so that's one thing. Uh, she's been to a handful of shows, but she doesn't really like it because she says it's just a different me, which it is.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I'm totally different when I'm at a wrestling show as opposed to when I'm at home. But she's 13, so like she she's kind of witnessed the whole transition from like being just a professional wrestler to a wrestler who's actually doing this as a living, you know, and then doing bigger things, going to other countries. She's seen it all. So
Right.
I think for me, the biggest thing about it is wrestling is kind of like a crazy pipe dream in a lot of ways, right? So it's like,
Yeah, it is.
it's this thing that like, you know, most people see it and they're like, I don't think, like, who's crazy enough to do that? Like, there's so many guys and girls who want to do this as a living. What's the odds that you're going to make it, right? So to see me and her experience me, like, push myself and do these things to make this happen, this crazy dream, like, I think that's a good thing for a father to a daughter, because she's going to have in her head now that, like, if I want to do this, like, she's an artist, so she likes art a lot. So if she decides like later on she wants to stick with this, and I don't know, maybe she wants to animate for Disney or something, that's another crazy pipe dream that most people says. But if I've done this crazy wrestling thing and she's seen me kind of succeed at it, then in her head she's gonna be like, well, I can do it. It's not that crazy.
Right.
My dad did it. So that's kind of like where I'm at with it. That's the way I look at it. It's kind of setting the example, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And you know, like I always, like you mentioned, like the odds of somebody actually making it in a professional wrestler. Like one of the things I commonly hear when I do interviews is like people say you got to be just a little bit crazy to be a professional wrestler, like just a little bit, like. But yeah, we talked about Eddie earlier. I know you guys, I think you guys wrestled in Full Progress back in February, like before the whole shutdown. Like, just tell me, like, what are those London crowds like, man? Just being there and feeling that atmosphere. I think you guys were at one of the, one of the more popular arenas over there. So, like, what was it like being overall in that experience and experiencing that crowd?
Oh, it was nuts, man. I've been to England before, but yeah, like definitely that particular show, the Progress show, that crowd, because it's just a different setting. Like, you do a big show like the Progress show, it's different than wrestling at a more like local show, I guess, in England. That crowd was crazy. I would probably one of the better crowds that I've been in front of, like them, the crowds in Germany. I would liken those to like the big cities of the United States, like Chicago and New York and Detroit, those places. Very lively crowd. Like, they love wrestling. They just want to see action. They appreciate everything that you do. And that was a really cool one because, you know, Drake and I went there together and we got the little please come back chant. So that was cool. They liked us. So it was
That's
all in
always
all,
nice.
really, yeah, really cool.
Yeah, no, I know another match that I did want to talk to you about, and this was only last year, and it feels like 4 years ago, was when you wrestled Zachary Wentz at Bloodsport. Like, this being, I know you do have you have an MMA background, I believe. Like, just being in that type of, that type of environment, and like knowing that the fans are expecting just something a little different from what we would normally see at any other wrestling show. Like, just tell me about like what was that like, and kind of mixing it up with Zach, and then kind of incorporating your MMA style into professional wrestling.
Yeah, Zach's a really cool guy. First off, I like him a lot. So it was really cool working with him. And Bloodsport is always something that like I wanted to do because ever since it kind of came around a few years ago, I was like, yes, let me be a part of that because I don't know if you're familiar with shoot style wrestling, but it's pro wrestling, but it's essentially done like a shoot. So it was really popular back in Japan, like in the Battle Arts days, UWFI. And essentially, the match works like a shoot fight, an MMA fight, with some pro wrestling elements. And that's kind of like, in a way, like a lot of what I do anyway, even in professional wrestling, even if I'm wrestling just a straight professional wrestling match. So it kind of just made sense. And had the opportunity, and it was awesome. I had a lot of fun doing that. And the crowd's different because they're not expecting, these crazy high spots. They like will pop for like a big slam or like a suplex because you don't get it every 2 seconds. You get the one big one, and they're like, "Oh my god!" So it's really cool.
Yeah, and do you think you kind of having that MMA background? Do you really think it helped bring you something different to the ring. Like it allows you to kind of be flexible with various things. Like you can do both of what people may expect. Like some people may expect, you to go out there and like, really be a showman. And then some people may just want to see you do like the grappling stuff. Do you think that really has helped you throughout the years and just really add to your overall game?
Yeah, for sure it does. It's the footwork and just being able to move in a way that is realistic, I guess. Selling in a way that's realistic. Just doing things in a way that seems like a fight. I think that's the thing I'm best at. Katie Drake and I both actually is like making things look like a fight, making it look real as possible. And I think that's also what sets us apart from a lot of other people. And I probably go a little bit deeper in it than JD does, stylistically. But we both have similar approaches in terms of just making things look like a fight. It's like, in a lot of ways, that's missing in professional wrestling, I think. And it brings something different to the table. So yes, for sure, MMA has my background in it has helped a
lot. Right. And when I was reading up on you, man, and doing some prep for this interview, like I noticed that you took like maybe like a 2-year, 3-year break from pro wrestling. Like what happened in that that gap? I know it was earlier on in your career. It wasn't like 10 years in. It was like maybe like a year or 2 years in. Like what was that gap period all about? If you can't share.
Yeah, I was in about 3 years, maybe something like that. But yeah, this is me being young and dumb and getting myself into trouble when it came to professional wrestling. I'm a kind of guy. Just my personality is. I say to myself a lot, I'm introverted. I know that's kind of crazy when you think about professional wrestling.
But I can relate.
But like I think to myself a lot, and I have a close circle of people that I hang around. And for some people, especially with wrestling being so open and like everybody's extroverted, it just comes off sometimes as being like, oh, he's an a-hole or he's cocky or whatever it is. And early on, I was way worse in terms of like communicating with people and wouldn't talk really to not many people at all. And so I got a lot of trouble because of those things. And politically speaking, I just decided I didn't want to be a part of it for a while. Right. And I grew up and I came back, but
Right. And I just want to add on that, like, I just think maybe even the culture of professional wrestling was different back then. Like now, true. Like I think people like even now, I think like people are more like just relaxed overall. Like not everybody's like, you gotta walk around the locker room and shake everybody's hand. You gotta, you gotta do this and do like every people kind of more chilled out. And like even like on the introvert thing, I'm kind of the same way even with my work. Like, but when I'm doing interviews, like even when I'm doing in-person interviews, I'm on. You know what I'm saying? But like when I'm not, I'm like you wouldn't even know I was there. And I'm kind of even the same way on social media. Like I use it to promote my work, and like other than that, I'm like. Like it is what it is. So I could relate to you on that.
Yeah, same. And like you said, it was different a little bit back in the earlier part of my career. It was a little bit more strict on like what you had to do and how you had to act, and just the evolution of, I guess,
people.
The people and just culture in general in the United States. I guess the whole wrestling culture has changed to the point where like being introvert is not so bad. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to act a certain way per se.
It's looked at as cool now being an introvert.
Yeah. So I guess I was cool all along and just didn't know.
There you go, man. You was ahead of the time. But like Andy, I'm curious, man. So I know you had I believe you were at a WWE trial early this year, maybe a couple months ago. Like what was that? What was that? What was that like, man? I know, like of course, like I said before, I remember I spoke with Calvin Tankman a couple months back, and he told me like WWE trial is like one of the most like they test you, man. They push you to your limit as far as like to see what you can do. Like what was it kind of that same thing for you, or was it a little bit more less than
Well, I did one back in December of last year, so about a year ago. Okay. And yeah, it's pretty hardcore. I won't lie. Like with my athletes there, and they're there to like, man, they want to make sure that you want it, and so it's tough. It's not easy, and I think that's a good thing, because if you show them that you're going to work that hard. You know what I mean? You really want it. That makes sense. So
Right.
they're essentially, I mean, if they're going to contract you, put you under a contract, and they're investing in you, so they got to make sure that you're ready for that investment. So it makes sense to me. And it was really tough. It's really hard. As far as any other tryouts, I can't speak on anything like what they're doing now. But the one I did back in December for sure was really, really hard.
Mm. And like I really think like that type of trials, it really helps weed people out, like you said, from who wants it and who don't want it. Because like if you get pushed hard enough, some people might fold under that pressure, and then some people might rise to the occasion. So I think that's a really good test to see who really wants it. But like I know over the summer, man, I know you had put out a statement about thinking about stepping away from the business at the end of the year, and I know you've been wrestling, like still during the pandemic, like. It is like now as we inch closer to the end of the year, like are you still kind of feeling the same about the situation? And I know it wasn't just the pandemic that was in. I know the whole the speaking out thing, and that was kind of like just a big cloud over the rest of business. It still is, and that hopefully that's getting sorted out. But like as far as your career goes, are you still kind of feeling the same as you did back then, or is it kind of like you starting to kind of maybe I'll stay and I'll hang around?
Yeah, so it was a combination of a lot of different things. The pandemic, obviously, put everybody through a lot, still is,
Yeah.
and a lot of people have gone through depressions. I was one of those people. And then that combined just with the not just the pandemic as a part as it relates to like the part of it where everybody's suffering, but also just wrestling suffering because of the pandemic in terms of like not as many shows going on. There's not a lot of work going on, and then the whole speaking out thing, which was something that I already like knew about, not knew about, but like
just the
that's also
culture.
why. Yeah, well, that's like why we talked about earlier about me keeping my circle, tight. Um, one reason for that is also because and this is me in general, but I don't agree with a lot of people in the way they live their lives. You know what I mean? And wrestling, I know, and I knew that there's plenty of bad people wrestling. Now, that's not to say that it's the wrestling culture or it's wrestling that's bad.
Right.
You go to any workplace, that's going to be the case, right? You're going to have plenty of people that are just not good people. That's just life. So it wasn't surprising necessarily for it to happen, but just the fact that it did happen, combined with the depression, combined with the pandemic, all that stuff combined, kind of led me to that I'm going to be done. And as far as where I'm at now with it, I would say maybe till February. As far as independent wrestling shows, I'm done. So unless you see me pop up somewhere under a contract with a lot of money,
Yeah.
I will more than likely be done with independent wrestling for now. Come
and,
February.
I think something you really touched on that's really important is mental health in professional wrestling amongst wrestlers. Because we see you guys on these shows, we see you guys on TV or whatever it may be, right? And we probably not me specifically, but I'm saying like maybe just a few general population that they probably think everything's all good. Like you guys don't have issues, you guys don't have these moments of like when you feel low or you have insecurities or like you're like you don't have these like human emotions. You know what I'm saying? And not saying that's everybody thinks like that, but some people may legit think like some people think NBA players who making all these millions of dollars don't have issues and they don't have things going on in their life that's bringing them down just because you see them on TV putting up 30 and they look happy. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that's like something that's really important in professional wrestling is to know that like, bro, these people are people just like we are. Like they go through stuff. Not everything is all creatures and cream all the time, peaches and cream all the time. It's like that's just life and what it is. And like everybody has their own story. Everybody going through something. Like you see somebody walking on the street, they might be going through something, and you would never know it. You just another person that they just walk past on a regular day. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's something very important that you bring up. And of course, I think people are starting to become more aware of mental health over the years, and just kind of embracing openly speaking about it. So I commend you for opening up about that. I think that's big.
Yeah, and it's a good thing that it's kind of more open now because A lot of people do suffer just from mental health. And, I was one of them, and it's rough, man. It's rough when you're going through that, and um, it takes work to get past it. And I was lucky enough to have a great wife and a great daughter. And, I found happiness without professional wrestling through the pandemic when all that went down. And now I'm in a better place, and I'm in a better place to be a professional wrestler too. Because now I know, that, like, I am not only a professional wrestler. Like, yeah, I'm really good at it. I have no problem saying that. Just like JD Drake, I'm really good at professional wrestling, but I'm good at other things, and I have a lot more going on than just professional wrestling. And that has been the one thing that I think has helped me through the pandemic, helped me through my issues with mental health, and I came out of it better. So yeah, but a lot of people go through it. A lot of people in professional wrestling go through it, and I think it shouldn't be something that is frowned upon. It should be brought to light. And so now that's happening, I think that's a great thing. Everybody needs support. Everybody needs help. And yeah, a lot of people going through it.
Right. And last couple of questions before we wrap it up here, Anthony. I do want to thank you for your time, man. Like I know you mentioned, maybe an end goal for you is being signed. Like as far as like how you approach that, is it more of a situation of like where you're like maybe like trying to get in there, or is it a thing of like if it happens, it happens type of deal?
Yeah, I mean that's the end goal for. I think that's probably the end goal for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Is to be signed, because at the end of the day, it's business, and the amount of work we put in, sacrificing our body, sacrificing time with our family, and all these different things that we do for the business. At the end of the day, you want to show something for it, right? And it's our job, so we want to make some money. That's what it's about. And I'm over 16 years in, and even if you count the time off, and so I've done a lot with professional wrestling, and I've done more than I ever thought I would ever do. I've been out of the country, I've wrestled everybody there is to wrestle just about, I have nothing really else to do other than make some good money and show the people, show the world, what I'm capable of. And so that happens, that's great, that's fantastic. If it doesn't happen, it's not gonna be the end of my world, but let's just fingers crossed. We'll see what happens in the next few months, and if not, I'll be okay with it.
Right. And like you mentioned, like the opportunities that being signed can come to one. Like I think like it obviously brings more eyes to you, and it can lead to opportunities outside of pro wrestling. Like I think that's one of the big things that I think most people. Well, I'm not gonna say everybody and lumping everybody, but I think that's what most people want is like, you know what I'm saying? Because I think just this current crop of wrestlers, I think you guys are really aware as far as this is something that maybe you would like to do forever, but as far as your body goes, it's like something like you would like to sort of transition out and then build upon something else in the future. Like, do you like? Are you more? Would you like, as far as getting signed goes? Would you be more excited about, of course, being able to provide for your own, but like the opportunities that could come from being on a nationally televised program and somebody saying, "Oh, look at that guy. Maybe we could get him on this show, or maybe we could get him on that show, or maybe we can bring him in for a spot here or there on a commercial." Like, is that something that like is also exciting to look forward to if the opportunity came about?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, professional wrestling, being a wrestler, seeing that part of it out, appearing on a national TV product or whatever, that's definitely probably the first priority. But second one, not far behind it, is definitely the exposure you get from it. I have other things going on in my life, things that I do pursue, and fitness is one of those things, and I have degrees and all kinds of crazy stuff that I spend money on as well, for that part of my life. And so, getting a contract, getting that exposure could definitely lead to bigger opportunities in the fitness world as well later on. So that's something I have thought about.
Right. And then last, before we wrap it up here, man, one last question. Like 16 something years in the business, man, decade plus, let's say the contract doesn't come in February, right? When you look at everything that you've done, traveling the world, overseas, championships, making all these connections and friendships that you have, and just knowing what professional wrestling has brought to your life. And you look at the scope of everything. Can you look at it and be like, you know what? I'm cool. I did it. I lived it. You know, I was a professional wrestler, and I always will be one. It just in heart. Like, can you kind of look at that and just be like, you know what? Cool. I'm good. I'm good with what I've done.
Oh yeah, I'm cool with it, man. Like I'm at peace. Like I said, it most of that has come from the pandemic and my experience with that, and learning who I am without professional wrestling. Because for the longest time, I just that's all I knew. I was like, who am I without professional wrestling? Who is Anthony Henry without professional wrestling? You know.
Right.
But I figured that out, and so now if nothing great happens with professional wrestling, all that's still great, and I'm not suffering anymore, and I'm good with it. I've done more than most people have done in professional wrestling. You know what I mean? Like travel to other, like I said, travel to other countries, work for big promotions, wrestle the majority of all the biggest independent wrestling stars at least, and yeah, like how can I complain about that? Like I've done great things, in my opinion. So I'm good with it.
There we go. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. From the man himself, Anthony Henry, man, I do want to thank you for your time. Please, if you got anything you want to plug, social media, merchandise, anything you want, please, the floor is yours. I'm going to make sure to plug everything in the description of this video.
Yeah, man. If you guys do want to follow me, see where I'm at, at least for the next few months, or see what's going to happen with me, most of my stuff is done on Twitter or Instagram, and the handle on that is Anthony Henry, so ANTNY Henry. And yeah, follow me on there, and you'll see what's going on with me. That's it.
There it is. There it is. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Andrew Thompson of the Andrew Thompson Interviews YouTube channel. This is the one and only veteran of the business. Not one and only veteran, but just the one and only Anthony Henry, veteran of the business. One of them. One of them. Anthony, thank you for your time, man, and I appreciate it, brother.
Thank you. Hey, take it easy.